A seemingly perfect island fortress was breached in under 3 days, not by superior firepower, but by an invisible weapon the Japanese command never saw coming. November 20th, 1943. The first light over Tarawa paints the lagoon in hues of crimson and gold, a beautiful mask for the fortified nightmare below. Steam drifts from the dense jungle, which now conceals a labyrinth of steel-reinforced concrete and interlocking gun pits, 50 feet beneath the coral. Rear Admiral Kiji Shibazaki surveys his domain. For 2 relentless years, he has shaped this atoll into what Imperial Headquarters deems The air in his command bunker is thick with the scent of damp cement and the coiled tension of 4,800 defenders, each prepared to sell their life dearly. Turning to his officers, Shibazaki's voice is ironclad with conviction. The Americans, he states, will need 1 century and 1 million men to take this island. His certainty is built on a lifetime of study. He has dissected every Allied amphibious operation, from the chaotic Gallipoli landings to the disjointed American efforts at Guam. Through his German periscope, he expects to see a confused, vulnerable fleet. But the horizon tells a different, chilling story. The dots that appear are not scattered. They move with a chilling, geometric precision. This was not a fleet. It was a single, coordinated organism. Reports from outstations crackle over the radio, each voice tighter than the last. Sir, the enemy formation. It extends beyond our visual range. Admiral, we count multiple fleet carriers. The vessels position themselves not for a rushed assault, but to methodically box in the lagoon, their guns pre-aimed at his strongest points. Then, the world begins to shake. A low rumble builds into a cataclysmic roar, vibrating the very coral underfoot. Dust rains from the bunker ceiling. Through the lens, Shibazaki watches fire bloom across the American line. But the pattern is all wrong. The bombardment isn't a hailstorm. It's a rolling wave. Ship after ship fires, in sequenced cadence, walking their fury across his defenses with meteoromic timing. How could a naval force achieve such flawless, murderous synchronization? You must grasp Shibazaki's frame of reference to understand his growing dread. Japanese military doctrine was the apex of the decisive battle victory achieved through ferocious will, surprise, and tightly pre-planned maneuvers. At Pearl Harbor, it was Japanese coordination that delivered a shock. Their successes across the Pacific seemed to validate that individual spirit, backed by meticulous preparation, could overwhelm a slower, less unified foe. Shibazaki's entire defense is engineered for that enemy. Chaotic beach landings where his interlocking bunkers would create slaughter pens. His walls are 3 feet thick. His artillery is zeroed in on every inch of sand. But the intelligence whispers he dismissed now echo in the humid air. Communications from Guadalcanal speak of a new American capability, a level of integration they could not counter. He had chalked it up to the excuses of defeated men. Now, watching supply tenders weave seamlessly between warships and contested waters, he wonders. Observing aircraft launch in waves that speak of constant radio chatter between pilots and ships, he doubts. Admiral, an officer calls out, voice strained. Forward observers report the naval gunfire is being adjusted. In real time, spotter planes are directing the shells. Real-time adjustment, the concept strikes at the core of his training. Japanese forces coordinated through exhaustive, rigid, pre-battle planning. What he witnessed suggested an enemy that could re-coordinate instantly as the battle evolved. The implications unfolded with cold, logical horror. If the Americans could synchronize supply lines across thousands of miles of ocean, his strategy of letting them beached and then crushing them was suicide. If they could integrate naval gunfire with aerial spotting the moment a target was identified, his mighty bunkers were not fortresses, but tombs. Through the periscope, he saw the landing craft approach. They came in perfect, spaced lines, their advance timed to the very second the naval barrage lifted from the beach. This was a machine, not an assault. What happened over the next 76 hours was less a battle and more a systematic dismantling. After a brief area silenci, the coordinated storm resumed. American ships fired in a choreographed ballet of destruction. As shells stopped falling on one sector, landing craft immediately surged toward that exact spot. The Marines hit the beach, not as a desperate mob, but as organized units, their radio antennas whipping in the salt spray. "Sir, they have comms between individual boats, the ships, and the aircraft above." The report confirmed his nightmare coordination at the squad level. Every Japanese tactical move was met with an immediate, integrated counterpunch. Concentrate to repel a landing. Spotter planes would instantly call down airstrikes on the massed defenders. Fire an artillery piece. Counter-batter a fire from the fleet would silence it within minutes. Shibazaki's men fought with unparalleled bravery, but they were fighting 100 isolated duels. The Americans were fighting one single, unified battle. Courage is meaningless against a system that removes the chance for heroism. The psychological toll was as devastating as the physical. A decoded message from Saipan told of Sergeant Taro Yanaguchi, a veteran known for his steel nerves, who confessed the systematic bombardment left him paralyzed, unable to move. If such a man could be frozen by coordinated fire, what did that mean for the doctrine of spiritual supremacy? Communications from other embattled commanders, like Lieutenant General Kuribayashi on Iwo Jima, carried the same stunned tone. The enemy's coordinated use of warships and aircraft makes any beach defensible for them. This was not an isolated event. It was a pandemic of new warfare. In his final hours, Shibazaki sent a stark transmission to Tokyo. "American integrated warfare has rendered our static defense doctrine obsolete. Strategic review, urgent." The transmission died as Marines overran his position. His death marked more than the fall of an island. It was the end of an era of combat. The aftermath rippled through the highest levels of Imperial Japan. In post-war interrogations, Vice Admiral Jisaburo Ozawa admitted, "We were astonished by the enemy's task force coordination. It exceeded our tactical comprehension." The nation that had perfected the coordinated surprise attack at Pearl Harbor was now itself out-coordinated. Sergen the Yanaguchi, surviving the war, would reflect with a hollow voice, "We trained to fight the American soldier. We were not prepared to fight the American system." This admission was a cultural earthquake. The entire Japanese strategic playbook was torn up. They abandoned beach defenses entirely, resorting to deep underground networks on Iwo Jima and Okinawa. Desperate reaction to the shock of American integration. Even the tragic kamikaze campaign was, in a dark sense, an admission of this new reality. As Captain Rikihei Noguchi later noted, suicide tactics were a grim acknowledgement that matching American coordination in conventional battle was impossible. The lessons of Tarawa did not fade with the war. The systematic integration of air, sea, and land forces became the blueprint for modern combined arms operations, from the Gulf War to today's exercises. Historian Samuel Eliot Morison called it the most profound advance in warfare since the Napoleonic Corps system. But the universal truth is this. In any complex endeavor, from military campaigns to business projects, systematic coordination will always, inevitably, overwhelm disconnected individual effort, no matter how valiant. So, what coordination challenge are you facing right now? What system could you build to solve it? If you found this analysis of how integration changes everything valuable, show some love to the algorithm and like this video to support the channel Winds of Thought. Subscribe for more deep dives into the hidden systems that shape our world. And in the comments, I'm curious, what do you think was the most devastating aspect of this new American warfare? The technical integration, the real-time adaptability, or the psychological erasure of individual heroism?